My fiancé might have touched our daughter. This just happened, and I'm at a complete loss. I'm shaking typing this. Our 2-year-old daughter constantly climbs in bed with us. When she's not in bed with us, my fiancé often grinds on me or touches me while he's sleeping. I'm a light sleeper, and I haven't been woken up by him doing it to me while I was sleeping. This is what makes me suspicious about the current situation. I told him plainly I'm not into being touched while asleep. And it hasn't happened. Which is great for consent and yada yada. Tonight though, I was playing on my phone. My fiancé and daughter were cuddled up sleeping. And when I looked over, one of his hands was hooked around her waist, trigger warning, rubbing the front part of her diaper. Like he was trying to rub her CL Taurus. I freaked out and punched him. Grabbed our daughter and took off. I laid her in her bed. Went back to ours and demanded to know if he was awake or asleep before I punched him. He said asleep and demanded an explanation. I told him what he had been doing and he got pissed. He said, I'd never touch my daughter. I'd never do that. I said, no more co-sleeping. Even if we have to live on her bedroom floor until she starts sleeping in her bed. No more co-sleeping. He responded to everything I said with, I would never touch her. I'd never do that. It wasn't in denial or sad kind of tone though. It's like he was pissed I'd imply it. Like I was lying. It's 3 a.m. now. He's gone out for a smoke and I'm sitting here typing this. I was molested by a cousin for many years. I know statistically it's people you know who sexually abuse you. Can someone give me an outside perspective? I don't want to feel like a villain for trying to protect my daughter from the trauma I went through. Edit. I searched through some websites to see if my daughter showed any signs of sexual abuse. And it may be nothing, but one of them was a difficult time getting her to bed. She used to conk out at 8:30 to 9 p.m. on the daily when I worked day shifts. And when I switched to nights, I kept getting told my fiancé was having a hard time getting her to go to sleep. Like, tantrum every night, screaming and crying about not wanting to. Which wasn't like her at all. But we chalked up to the schedule change being hard on her. I'm chewing my fingernails raw and feeling like I'm overthinking while also feeling like I might have overlooked something major. Definitely no more co-sleeping. If he has a pattern of doing this type of thing while asleep, then it's hard to say he did this on purpose. He can go to a therapist and they can run a sleep study, test on him and do a psych eval. For him getting mad. If someone doesn't get mad when being accused of touching their daughter, then that would be a bigger red flag. It really seems like he had no idea what was going on while he was asleep. You also have trauma yourself from the past. Don't let it control your emotions right now. Googling signs of trauma right now is going to accelerate your thoughts even more. The things that are nothing will always be something online. Have him make an appointment ASAP and get himself checked out and have some test ran. Wait, so he does this when he's asleep? It's possible he has a sexual-oriented parasomnia. It sounds fake, but it's 100% real. Basically, it causes individuals who are asleep to initiate sexual contact, activity unknowingly. He needs to see a sleep specialist and a psychiatrist. It's absolutely reasonable to not allow co-sleeping anymore due to this. This is a very difficult situation because it has so many levels of complexity. First off, you saw what you saw. Do not doubt that. Everything from here on out is going to be about protecting your daughter. The problem is that a person who sleepwalks, because that is what the sleep grinding is. It's a form of sleepwalking. And a person who is a predator will say exactly the same thing. I am not a predator. I would be furious if someone accused me of touching a kid. Especially one of my family members. Like, ready to throw down. instantly ready to fight angry. There would be no time for bewilderment or sadness in that moment. I'd just be furious. Bewilderment and sadness would come later. Predators use anger as a defense. 2. They know how innocent people react. They react the same way. So how do you tell the difference? And, more importantly, does it matter? How do you keep your baby safe? No more co-sleeping is a good start. Another thing you can do is go to a doctor. If your fiancé is sleepwalking, there is treatment that will completely fix him. He can't be cured, but his condition can be managed with medication. It does have side effects, but he should be completely on board with taking those meds if it means keeping his kid safe. Right? The treatment is a specific antidepressant that shuts down the part of his brain that isn't shutting down properly when he's sleeping. See if he will go to a doctor. See if he will take the meds. If he won't, leave him. At that point, patient or predator becomes academic. It doesn't matter. He's a material threat either way. I'm not sure I understand the story. He would grind with you while he was asleep. But you said don't, so he no longer grinds with you while you are asleep. Is that correct? If so, then he lied to you. He doesn't have conscious control when he sleeps. You're saying stop isn't going to stop him. Maybe after months of work. But not easily. I agree that is a bad habit and a pattern to allow your little one to get used to sleeping with you. I am not going to accuse your man of anything underhanded, but look for signs that could be more convincing. It is hard to fathom that he would not know that a front part of a diaper is something that is very inappropriate. Maybe he was substituting this dirty habit for your front, and if that is the case, he needs to leave your house. Okay. This is fucked up. First of all, please don't start paranoid searching, because you will find everything that might indicate your daughter was molested, but you will never know. She needs to see an expert. Her not wanting to go to sleep when alone with your fiancé could also mean that she does not want to go sleep without seeing mommy, etc. That does not mean anything, but I understand your concern. To your fiancé, I don't know if grinding at sleep is a thing and why he can stop with you but starts with your daughter. He needs to seek therapy because he endangers his daughter with his behavior. You need to tell him that your daughter is your first priority. You will leave him and make sure he will never see his child again if he does not get treatment. And do not argue with him about him being a pedophile or him just sleep acting. It does not matter. At this point, your child is in danger no matter what cause his abnormal behavior is driven by. But do yourself a favor. Tell someone you trust and know they will handle it with caution in your environment. Because sometimes predators get violent if they are discovered and someone wants to take their plaything away. You must protect yourself and your daughter. My girlfriend does this. Her symptoms are worse when she doesn't masturbate or have sex in a good while. She usually rubs against the bed and moans. She sometimes wakes up with her hand rubbing her PJ trousers where crotch is. She has very vague memories at times when she wakes herself up doing it. But she's a lightish sleeper, so it's likely different for others. She finds it utterly humiliating. However, do not pin this situation on one possibility. You just don't know enough at this point. Keep an open mind and try to resolve it. My partner says I grind up onto her when I'm asleep, and I honestly don't know I've done it. She asks me in the morning if I remember, and I honestly don't, but that's me. Everyone is different. He could just have fallen into a sleep like he does and thought he was cuddled with you. I hope that's all it is and it's nothing more sinister. But also his reaction to you saying he's touching your daughter inappropriately can bring on a lot of different emotions. His pissed off response might be because he's been accused of inappropriately touching his daughter. Which I do believe a lot of men would be angry at this. I know I would be. Sometimes you get a upset response and an act of denial because they have intentionally touched them inappropriately, and the upset and denial can come from the fact they know they have done it and they know it's wrong and they shouldn't do it. This is just my opinion on it. Where your child is concerned, you should do what's best to keep her safe though until you can sort this. Hope it's nothing sinister and you get sorted. I don't know what happened here. But if you're right and he did touch her, there are ways to do that aside from co-sleeping. So you need to leave. I wonder why it is so easy for you to jump to this conclusion. It certainly won't be mine with my own partner. Is it something about your fiancé? Or is this about your own abuse? Just be careful. This accusation can ruin his life. And not acting can ruin your daughter's. First of all, he grinds sexually anyway when he is asleep. Knowing that, you should keep the child out of y'all's bed and not assume that he won't do what he typically does when sleeping. Nobody is responsible for what happened when they were unconscious. There's a good reason experts recommend babies don't sleep in your bed. Often parents ignore the recommendation. More than accidental sexualization is sudden infant death syndrome. You are not a villain. No co-sleeping and leaving her alone with him. Psych eval as well. You saw what you saw. He needs to accept that and get on board with solutions. Acting like you're lying just means he's going to do it again. Whether consciously or unconsciously. That's not safe for your daughter to be around. You might be overreacting, or there might be something more to it. Of course, your fiancé should not sleep anymore with a daughter. For safety of your daughter, I'd install a hidden camera in her room or somewhere, so you'll know how he's spending time with her when you're not around, especially before sleeping time. Other than that, I took a liberty to look on your other posts. And I'll just say, don't get pregnant again with him until you know 100% that he said truth to you. If you decide to stay with him and if this case is resolved positively, I'd recommend to touch him more during a day. Because what he does during dreaming may be because he has a lack of touch. Also, maybe visit to a psychiatrist, because he may have this condition where trying to start sexual activity will in sleeping. But proceeding with caution is advised. He might be a pervert after all. Especially because of two things. He stopped doing this to you when called out. If he just started sleep on the other side of the bed, we have an explanation. But if he sleeps still close to you and those things stopped just like that, makes me ask if he was really asleep in previous situations with you. His hand movements you described in one of the comments are too creepy specific. From what you're saying, it's not like his whole hand was just laying on your daughter's diaper. But there were specific fingers movements. Best case scenario. He was unconscious and sexually grinding on a toddler. Why would you give him more opportunities to do it again? Unconscious or not, your daughter is being sexually violated. Your only responsibility is towards her. Edit. It's also weird how when you ask to stop grinding, touching you when he's asleep, he has successfully been able to stop, but he can't realize he was grinding on a toddler? He sounds like a predator and you're lucky you saw it with your own eyes. There are no maybes, or maybe she's a confused child. No. You saw it. Okay. Take a breath. I think you are letting your past escalate the situation. Your fiancé's reaction is what I'd expect from someone woken from sleep by being punched and accused of molesting their daughter. I think there was no ill intent here due to his history of sleep behavior. Your daughter needs to be in her own bed though to prevent this happening again. He may have been asleep and unaware of what he's doing. Separate sleeping is definitely the way to go, but don't do anything drastic that could destroy his life, like get the cops involved. Once you go down that route, there's no coming back, and the consequences for him, if it turned out to be something he'd no awareness or control over, are severe to say the least. Insist he see a doctor about his sleep, and they can confirm and hopefully suggest a remedy if he's prone to doing things while asleep. With all respect though, can I ask, have you ever had any experience of abuse yourself? Do you think that there's a chance you might have overreacted or misinterpreted what you saw? I know it's hard to convey everything about a situation through a simple Reddit post, but it's important to consider all the possibilities before deciding on any potentially life-altering action. Maybe don't punch a sleeping person for parasomnic behavior, much less accuse them of being a sexual predator. That is a life-ruining accusation, and stains that person's relationship to their kid for life. What did he say to no more co-sleeping? He should have reacted with shock, anger, and disgust. It would have been even scarier if he was calm. There is no good way to react to that sort of thing. Definitely no more co-sleeping. But this needs to be addressed in therapy. There's only so much we can say. It's a terrible accusation. Monitor your daughter's behavior and talk with your husband ASAP. If he is innocent in this, it can destroy your relationship. You need to trust him 100%. Have you dealt with your own trauma? Sexsomnia.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.